I'm going to cover Cobra insurance coverage and how it relates to HIPAA. The term Cobra is short for Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act. Cobra is a program that has been put in place to provide temporary continuation of health insurance coverage when a group policy has been lost due to qualifying events. These events can include loss of employment, either quitting or getting fired, reduction of hours, so going full-time to part-time, therefore losing eligibility for benefits, divorce, so an ex-spouse who is not they were receiving benefits from prior to divorce can still enroll on Cobra to continue their health insurance coverage, or death. So if an employee passes away, their family still has the ability to maintain coverage through their deceased family member's group policy. I have a few facts about Cobra and I divided them into two categories: employers and participants. First thing with employers is that any private sector employer with 20 or more employees is required by law to offer Cobra options for participants who meet one of the qualifying events that were discussed earlier. Except for the federal government and churches or church-related organizations, they are exempt from having to offer Cobra coverage. However, the federal government does have a similar law to Cobra in effect that allows participants to extend their coverage. An employer must notify the plan administrator of termination in coverage within 30 days of a qualifying event, and both the employer and plan administrator have up to 44 days after that qualifying event to notify the participant of their eligibility for Cobra coverage. In regards to the participant, it is important to know that Cobra coverage can be expensive. When an employee is covered by their company's health plan, the employer typically pays a large portion of their premium. However, under Cobra, the participant is required to pay the full amount of the premium. There can be an additional 2% added to the total amount for administration fees, but this additional percentage is up to the employer and plan administrator's discretion. In order to participate in Cobra, a person must have been enrolled on the group health plan prior to the qualifying event. So if you're terminated from your employment, but you weren't on the group health policy prior to leaving the company, you don't qualify to sign up just because your job ended. You had to have been on the plan prior to leaving your job. An eligible participant has 60 days after the date their insurance coverage ended to decide to enroll. However, if you decide later on during that 60 days that you want to enroll on Cobra, you still have to catch up on the premiums for the prior dates that you were without coverage. For example, if your policy was terminated on April 1st, you would have until June 1st to decide to enroll on Cobra. If you decided to enroll on May 30th, your policy would become retroactively effective as of April 1st. So the participant must pay the monthly premiums for April, May, and then again in a couple days for June. Cobra plans are identical to the previous plan they were a part of. Plans change based on what an employer offers, so plans and premiums may change during a company's open enrollment period. Coverage typically lasts only 18 months on Cobra, but can last up to 36 for an employee's spouse and dependent if the employee became entitled to Medicare less than 18 months prior to the qualifying event. For example, if a covered employee becomes entitled to Medicare 8 months before the date of their employment ends, then Cobra coverage for their spouse and children would last 28 months, which is that 36 months minus the 8 months that they were eligible for Medicare. There are a few things to know about Cobra in relation to HIPAA. First, Cobra allows a person to avoid a significant break in their healthcare coverage. Since Cobra coverage is considered credible coverage, it can often be used to offset pre-existing condition exclusions. Finally, it allows you to remain covered during a break in employment, during a waiting period, or during a pre-existing condition exclusion period.